Hi, everybody. I'm Glenn Kennedy, and this is my co-host Charles Motz.
Glad to be here today.
Welcome back to Barn Talk. How you doing this morning, Charles?
Good. It's a nice day out. A little cloudy, but that's a California day in the morning. Glenn, I'd like to know about the restaurants. You do a lot of research on them and knew a lot about the restaurants in West Covina, especially down Garvey Avenue.
Okay, so prior to World War II, West Covina had four restaurants. They had Delay's Italian, what are they? No, French cuisine,
French community.
and they had a big party house there. You had Chris Wells. It was a restaurant, coffee shop type of deal. You had the Willows,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
and you had Caprani's, which was an Italian restaurant.
Very
Now, this is
good.
all prior World War. This was the 30s, late 30s, early 40s.
Sure.
And did you ever eat any of them, Charles?
Well, the one with the spaghetti and meatballs, I remember that one.
Caprani's.
Tronics, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And Delay, I remember going to Delays with my family, and that was kind of a get together. They had the Lions Club meets there and Rotary and different organizations from both cities or several cities. So I remember going there, and I remember going during the day when the Lions Club would decorate it up for the dances and things.
Yes, Louis DeLay was also the mayor and city council member in West Covina. He also has a street named after him
Yes.
in Covina,
Covina.
right there off Padillo and close to Grand.
Very nice man. Very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, if you were our age at that time, he always gave you a little treat, candy or something, you know. And he looked forward to seeing us in the afternoons when they were putting all the decorations up.
So, the Willows. Did you ever eat there?
I ate there, and I had a hamburger there,
Okay.
and they had real French fries, and we had a diet Coke or a regular Coke in those days. They didn't know what diets were, but you got the Coke in a real 6 ounce bottle. You didn't, there was no machine, so they gave it to you, and they poured it into a little container, glass container that said Coca-Cola on it. I remember that.
And Chris Wells?
Chris Wells, just remember being there not too often, but I remember going once. Yes,
Okay.
and it was good food. I don't remember it too well.
So back then, down Garvey Avenue, which is now the 10 freeway, we had a bunch of motels. We had the Stanmar and the Siesta, the Covina Motel. Covina Motel's still there.
Still
the
there.
Wayside's still there.
Yeah,
We had the Sunshine Cabins. We had a few places that had a bunch of cabins.
and that's where you went to have your blueprints done. They had a blueprinting machine there, and I imagine most of the city of West Covina in those days, the drawings for the subdivisions they made of the blueprints over there because it was a large machine. It smelled.
And where was this at?
It was right one of those little hotels over there.
Okay, so it would probably be the Sunshine Cabins because they had some type of a big office in there.
Yes, a very big office. That's exactly where it was. Yes,
Yeah.
you're correct. The machine was quite large too, and it smelled like bleach when it was running. I remember that. But if you needed a blueprint, they were different than today. They were blueprints. The blue and then the white lines were the drawings of the houses and the streets, weren't they?
Yeah.
I remember correctly. And you
No,
remember
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
No, I actually I didn't know that. See, you learn something new every day.
Yeah, and we didn't have photographing machines like they do today.
Yeah.
You had to take your drawing over there, and they were quite large. They ran them through the machine, and it was quite an operation, if I remember correctly.
Interesting.
And
So during that time, so you had the four restaurants prior World War II, late 40s. Then Starks came. When did Starks come? Early 50s?
yeah, the 50s, yes. Everybody
Okay.
stopped at the Starks, didn't they? On the
Well,
way
yeah,
to Palm
it
Springs.
was
Yeah.
it was a real famous steakhouse.
Yes, it was very good.
And then we had the Great Wall.
Oh, wasn't that something?
Yeah, that was the early 50s.
Yes, that
And that was actually a iconic place in West Covina. When I was growing up, you said West Covina, and the first thing they said was the Great Wall.
Oh
So
yes,
everybody ate at the Great Wall.
Yes.
So West Covina was known for the Great Wall.
Known for the Great Wall, and they were great people. And when I worked for Alpha Beta, uh, the founder came in, Mr. Wong, and he used to hold a chicken up and take all the flesh off of it. You know, of course, it was already dead and no feathers, but actually, I only saw him finishing it up once.
Yeah.
I didn't see the whole thing, but he was a nice man. We used to talk down then.
And that was Ben Wong, Ben Wong's parents.
Yes,
and Ben
father.
Wong was our former council member and mayor also. And his parents, I remember his parents, very nice people.
Oh,
very,
lovely.
very, very, very nice people.
Yes. And he came in mostly on Saturdays. You know, they were so busy, they just run out of meat, food. He'd come to the Alpha Beta there across from the City Hall. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yes.
I do. I do. And then the Huddle.
Oh yeah.
The Huddle was a big restaurant. It came in when they built Eastland Shopping Center.
Yes.
And also had a Clifton's in there too.
Yes. But the Hutto had hot fudge sundaes. You remember those? The big hot fudge sundaes? And they had the big lounges you could sit in, you know. They were comfortable. They weren't just stools. And we used to go there quite often. Yeah.
Yeah, I was only in the Huddle one time my whole life. when I was in high school, it was abandoned. It was abandoned, and they made the Oshman Sporting Goods. They turned it into Oshman Sporting Good, and now it's TGI Fridays.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
yes,
that's what it is.
Yeah,
that's what it conformed into. Yes. So I remember when I was growing up, a Caesar's Burger at the end of Glendora Avenue.
Yes.
I remember that. And where did you go in high school? Where did you hang out at?
Well, we'd always seem like we go over to Pasadena to the movies because there was a lot of show houses in Pasadena, and it wasn't too far away. And then we'd come back and stop at Bob's Big Boy on Colorado, or we'd come on back and go to the Huddle, basically.
Okay.
And then we'd always go, you know, you'd go to the In-N-Out all the time. So that's wasn't the In-N-Out's good hamburgers. I was at a body shop the other day, and they all were eating In-N-Outs, and it wasn't pleasant because I was hungry. It was lunchtime, but they sure smell good.
Yeah.
But we'd go to Bob's, and then sometimes we'd drive into Los Angeles. In those days, it was fun to go in distances like that, especially because we got our cars. But we'd go locally, and then downtown Covina, there was a malt shop. We'd go there quite often. But we'd always seem to end up at the Hutto for us, and basically In-N-Out Burger. That was how you go to In-N-Out a lot when you were...
Okay, so I was actually very spoiled. We grew up. I grew up walking distance from the In-N-Out on San Bernardino Road in Orange, and so I know at night you could smell In-N-Out.
Oh, you sure could.
And it was like the best smell. Still is to me.
Still is, yeah.
So yeah, In-N-Out is like one of my favorite places. But I used to go to Taco Paco.
Oh yes.
And Taco Paco is an old Tacolita. It was an original Tacolita, and it had the same menu. They made everything was the same. Oh, and it was good.
Yeah, it always still is. Yeah, I think we were there not too long ago.
And then I would, what I would do, I'd go to Burger Q first, and I'd get the onion rings, and then I'd pull out of the drive-thru and go to the corner and go to Taco Paco and get a burrito. So I'd have a burrito and onion rings, and then every now and then I would go get the pastrami at Burger Q. Man, they made the best pastrami's in town. They were nice and greasy and sloppy, just how I like them.
Yeah. Burger Q was the Cuffer family.
The Cuffer
Charles
family owned
and
that.
Stan, and they were from Pewanee.
Yes.
So they were local.
And then across the street there was Ernie's.
Ernie's, yeah.
Okay,
oh, yeah.
and we knew Ernie because Ernie grew up with my mom and her family in Lincoln Heights.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a family friend. So I went to Ernie's all the way until he passed away in the 80s.
Yes.
So that was a favorite restaurant of mine.
We got to know Coffee Dan's. We'd go into Hollywood to the movies. That's where some of the big movies were that come out. And there was a Coffee Dan's there.
Yeah.
And we'd have hamburger and things there. But West Covina had their own Coffee Dan.
West Covina had their own coffee dance,
Dance.
and it was owned by Joe Hurst.
Yes.
And who else? Was it Earl Marin? Was
several.
Floris's running uncle, or Earl Marin, or was it? It was owned by Joe Hurst and another barn boy.
Yeah, a couple barn boys.
And I think maybe Vern Mottinger, who was the mayor.
Yes.
And I remember them telling me my favorite Coffee Dan story.
Yeah. So
so back in the 50s or 60s, city council would meet at Coffee Dan's and make their decisions. Now back then it wasn't illegal. There's a Brown Act now that prevents you from doing that. But back then they used to meet at Coffee Dan's and they do all their city business. And one day the city manager George Iasis came, and Joe Hurst got up and locked the door on him.
Yeah, I remember.
And he turned the sign over and said, "We're closed."
We're closed. Yeah.
And it was 2:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, and the waitress said, "You can't do
You
that."
can't close. They go, "We're closed.
We're closed. We own it.
We own this place,
Yeah.
and we're closed." Yeah, that was very funny.
That was, yeah. And they'd have breakfast there, and they'd bring their own cereal. But Coffee Dan charged them for the milk and coffee. But I always got a kick out of that. They'd bring their own cereal, and mostly I don't know what Cheerios, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny. I remember that. So.
Yeah, and then we had some other nice restaurants too. They weren't actually in West Covina. The old where Claremond's Northwoods Inn is on San Bernardino Road in Azusa.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Dinner Horn.
That was the Dinner Horn.
And Dinner Horn was a pretty unique restaurant because it had where the bar was. The band would play in the middle, and it would rotate. It was like the first rotating bar in California. It was pretty unique.
Yeah, I remember that. It turned. Yeah.
And then after they went out of business, Claremond's came in and made it Northwoods Inn. And then people would go across the street to the bowling alley. There's a Covina bowling alley, and they had the Egyptian room. And I heard back in the 50s that was kind of like a high-class place to go.
Yes, it was. It was very popular. It kind of became a meeting area for quite a while, the bowling alley did. And, of course, bowling's fun. And then there was the one up there in the San Gabriel Canyons. What was the name of that?
El Encantos?
Oh, the Cantos, yeah. And you could go. We always seemed to go up there on a rainy night, and it was dark. And it was dark because there weren't many homes. And you drive up there and you make a right-hand turn. You go back in the canyon, and you got corn fritters, freshly cooked. They were still hot, and maple syrup, and a nice steak. And I always expected a gangster from Chicago to show up because it was all by itself. It was back there. There was nothing around it. It was dark, but it was just a special place to go. And I think it's still there, isn't it? I don't know.
I don't know. I hadn't been there in 30 years.
Yeah.
And I know it's been bought and sold a few times. I don't know if I'm sure it's probably closed down by now. I don't hear anybody going up there anymore.
No. You turn right at the bar. There was a bar on the main road up, and you turned before you got to the bar. And I always figured the gangsters might hang out at the bar and come and get you, But it was way back in there. No, I haven't been there for years either. But we have a lot of nice restaurants in West
Well, we do.
We did, didn't we?
Yeah, when I was growing up, I remember we never went. We got to go to very few. My mom, I had a single mom who worked 2 jobs and really couldn't afford to go out very often. We only went out after church or something, or after Little League when they'd take us out to Shakey's Pizza or something. But my mom, even if we had a lot of money, she didn't believe in going out.
Yeah.
She believed in staying home and eating a really cooked meal.
Yes.
And so that's what we did. I think that's what most families did. I don't. People I grew up with, they seldom went out.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be a special occasion.
Special occasion.
It's not like today where everybody goes out 4 days a week.
No, we really did.
It was a different time.
Yeah, and the wife was home, and she cooked a meal, and the father went to work or the husband, and the kids came home. That was the 50s
And
and the 60s.
and my grandma used to come over and cook for us.
Yes.
And my grandma was authentic Mexican cook.
Hmm.
I mean, it was like we got spoiled.
Yeah.
We were
Well.
spoiled. I go to these Mexican restaurants now, and boy, you got nothing on my grandmother. And so I was very fortunate.
Yeah, we were. My grandmother would come over and cook a lot. And the pot pies, the chicken pot pies, and all the. It was just delicious food, and
Yeah,
I think that was part of the culture at that time in the 50s and early 60s. You ate at home, and then special occasion, you went out to the restaurants.
yeah. I don't. Gee, well, when I was growing up, there was like not very many fast food restaurants. There was McDonald's,
Hmm.
and I don't remember any Burger Kings till the late '70s.
That's right.
There was In and Out.
Hmm.
Um, there was a few Del Tacos, and boy, Kentucky Fried Chicken. We had the Wiener Schnitzel, but there was very few. Now we had Ed Taco. Ed Taco made really good food too.
Hmm.
I forgot about them, um, but I went to Taco Paco most of the time.
Yeah. Is it still owned by the same family, or is it because
No,
it's been there so long?
it's El Loco, Manny's El Loco, or no, not he. It was Manny's, and then uh, the other guy bought it. I forget his name. Nice guy.
Yeah.
I'll think of it. Of course, when this film's over, I'll think of it. So
The food's still good.
the food's
Yeah.
still good.
Hmm.
Food's very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's been there a long time.
Peter's the guy's name.
Okay.
I forget his last name. Is Peter's El Loco now.
Hmm.
And good food.
Yeah.
And now Burger Q is what the s'mores or something?
Yes.
Or
Mhm.
no, it's Raros. Raros Mexican food.
Okay.
And we ate there. Burritos are big. They're
Hmm.
giant burritos. Yeah, very good food. And next to the old pizza place, Di Matteo's Pizza is now that s'mores place. That's
Nice.
what it is.
Yes. Charles Cuffer was the youngest one. No, Stan was. I'm sorry. And Charles became the chief of police, I believe, in Urbandale.
Yes.
And he worked for West Covina. I think he did everything in West Covina. I think he was fire. He worked at the fire department, the police department. Kind of lost track of him, but a real nice family. And then I guess the burger and Stan, the younger one, he just ran the family's business, which was a pretty down in Pewanee. So they distributed quite highly to the community.
Yeah.
So,
So did you ever, when you were growing up there, did you ever wander off into like Azusa or Glendora or El Monte? Where'd you wander off to?
well, we went to Five Points for the big ice cream,
Okay.
and they had that's a grocery store, and they had pastrami sandwiches, and they were kind of like the Walmart. They had everything in there you need, but we kind of hit the ice cream, and that was kind of we got an extra. It seemed like it was more than most people gave you.
Okay.
And then we got their pastrami. I bought their pastrami sandwiches, like you said. They were delicious with dill pickles and everything.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we went in. You always wandered into Los Angeles, and you went to Clifton's or one of those. And then you went to the show downtown, because downtown, and that was nice too. Uh, there were a lot of nice restaurants around when you think about it, but they were all, like you said, special occasions.
Yeah.
You just
So the pastrami was good there then, huh?
Oh,
You were
it
a big
was
pastrami guy, huh?
yeah, I'm kind of
Okay,
pastrami,
I
yeah.
am too. Now Burger Q had really good pastrami,
Mhm.
but the best pastrami I ever had was the Pit. It was called the Pit. It was a little uh, fast food place across the street from Belmonte High School. It's no longer there,
Okay.
but they had the best pastrami I could ever remember eating.
Probably.
And I've eaten everybody's pastrami.
Yeah, they're home cooked, you know.
Yeah, they just I don't know what it was, but to me they were the best around.
Yeah, and it was. I guess I am kind of a pastrami person. We'd go in Los Angeles and go to Flippy's and have a nice. I'd always have the lamb, double dip lamb.
Yeah.
That was good. They have pork and everything, and well, there was just good restaurants all over, and
Yeah,
so that's where
we went to Felipe's. I think last year, and food's good. It comes in it's small now.
Yeah, it's getting smaller. Yeah.
It's like kids' size meal now. I have to eat two orders now.
Do you remember Little Joe's in Los
I
Angeles?
do remember
Oh
Little
yeah,
Joe's. Yeah,
they
that was the place to go.
yeah,
Little Joe's. It really was.
yeah, it was down in Chinatown and it was Italian. And I think the same family owned it until they closed it up.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it wasn't too far down Garvey, and of course the freeways came, and you just took a trip downtown for a special occasion.
Yeah, and I know Ballpark had Tosco's.
Oh yeah,
Mexican run. That was a really good place to eat.
Since we're talking, there was one in Puente, a Bass restaurant. Do you remember that? It was downtown by the show house, and it was a Bass restaurant, and they made that good bread right in back of it.
What's a Bass restaurant?
Oh, Bass restaurant. You have five different. I understand this. Five different. And they had soup, they had lamb, and you got a coleslaw, and you got some good fresh made bread, and they had other meals, but it was a Bass restaurant run by the Bass people in Puente, and they sold sourdough bread. I
Okay.
can't think of the name of it, but as we were talking here, I just remembered that, and that was a special occasion on a Saturday evening to go to the Bass restaurant, and a lot of lamb,
Okay.
There's a difference between lamb and mutton, and they had the good lamb.
Interesting.
And it was just
I don't eat lamb, or very seldom.
okay. If you ever had mutton, you'll never eat lamb.
Okay.
But
Well,
you gotta have lamb. And
I kind of never eat lamb.
okay, and yeah, I forgot all of. And they made the famous sourdough bread that's all over.
Okay. I love sourdough.
Yeah,
bread,
and you could get it fresh.
oh wow, that's even better.
It was delicious.
Yeah, the smell of fresh bread is
Smell it all
awesome.
over. Yeah,
It is.
you do it.
Especially sourdough.
Yeah, yeah. Before you got there, you could smell it. And I remember going down there on a Saturday with the family, and the priests were all in there eating, and the nuns from the Catholic Church in Puente. Yeah, I'm so glad we talked. That's an old memory that comes back.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. And you got all the soup you wanted. You could have. I mean, you got all you wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, if you wanted more of the coleslaw or and you wanted more bread, and you wanted more soup or lamb, it was a real treat, and it was just a nice place. That's all it was. So
okay. Well, with that, I think we run out of time for the day.
I think so.
And I'd like to say thank you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Have a nice day.